Hello, and welcome to the first lecture of this section. This is an exciting milestone in the course, as after a fair amount of preparation which was necessary, we will now start writing some code. In some organizations which implement an agile framework, the preparation of all the required infrastructure, technology, continuous delivery tools and monitoring for a project is known as Sprint Zero. Up to this point, although we haven't set up any continuous delivery tool, we can say that we have completed Sprint Zero for the DevOps Buddy project. In this brief lecture, we will install the Bootstrap and JQuery web jars. These are Maven dependencies which can be used from within Thymeleaf templates to import Bootstrap and JQuery in HTML pages. This has the advantage of allowing us to work offline. We will of course need to be online when building the project for the first time, but once the libraries have been downloaded to the local Maven cache, they'll be available for offline use. Another advantage is that since they become part of the class path, there's no need for expensive remote calls to get the resources, as they are available locally. Declaring these dependencies is easy. Open the DevOps Buddy project with IntelliJ or your editor of choice and locate the pom.xml file. This is the Maven file which defines project metadata such as name, dependencies, and much more. One tip I always give to other developers is to keep the POM sections organized. One way to achieve this is to add comments to the dependencies section to logically separate them in dependency groups. We can start by creating an XML comment for the Spring Boot dependencies. And in the comment we can simply write Spring Boot dependencies. Now we can add another comment, say web jars, under which we will add a couple of dependencies, one for Bootstrap and one for jQuery. At the time of writing, the Bootstrap WebJar version is 3.3.6 and the jQuery WebJar is 2.1.4. If you want to be compatible with the code I'll be writing, then I suggest you to use the same versions. However, any version equal or more recent than the ones I'm using in this lecture should be fine. If you run into errors, just change the versions to the one I'm using. I'm now going to copy the POM entries from a file I have prepared for this lecture. This is something I'll be often doing in this course because your time is precious and I wouldn't want to waste it by having you see me typing. I recommend that anytime I copy some code, you pause the video and enter exactly what you see. Should you get stuck at any point, you can always use my GitHub repo to have a working copy of the project. This is reachable at the address displayed in the video. The two snippets I've entered define two Maven dependencies. Maven identifies dependencies through what is known as GAV, which stands for Group, Artifact, and Version. All Maven public dependencies are available from the Maven Central Repository. You can Google Maven Central Repository and probably the first link is the one you're looking for. A Maven group is similar to a package in Java. It represents a namespace where the actual files live. This is in fact the format in which a dependency will be stored on your local Maven cache. For example, if a group was named com.devopsbuddy, it will be stored on your local Maven cache in the folders com and devopsbuddy under it. The artifact identifies the name of the file or files that will be built when running Maven. Together with the version, unless explicitly specified otherwise, the build output will be placed under the target folder. For example, if we define the artifact with the name devopsbuddy, a version of 1.0.0 snapshot and the Maven packaging as jar, the file named under the target folder will be devopsbuddy-1.0.0-snapshot.jar. To make sure the dependencies are correct and your project builds, open a command prompt and execute the command mvn package. If the build completes without errors, it means that you've done everything correctly. At this point, we can push this code to GitHub and complete the Git workflow by merging the changes to develop. You will recall from the lecture on the various Git workflows that this is part of the Git flow workflow. To do this, you can execute the following commands: git add star. In IntelliJ, you can also right-click on the DevOps Buddy folder and select git and then add. The next command is git commit -m with a comment such as added Bootstrap and jQuery dependencies to the Maven POM file. And then git push. To merge the architecture branch to develop, we then execute git checkout develop Git merge architecture, and Git push. This concludes this lecture. Thank you for your time, and I see you in the next lecture.